I have to. He said,
Yeah, one on already. It's on. Islam wars.
Islam.
Having already risen in prayer, I want to again extend my highest praise and thanksgiving to the great God of the universe. Not enough praise and thanksgiving can be given to Allah for me. And I put emphasis on for me because when it comes to the praise owed to Allah, that is one of those areas that every tongue must confess its own. See, because one of the things that we understand is that a person is going to live out their life, they're going to act based on their perception of what life is about, how you perceive it, how you look at it. You know, a brother said to me today, we were talking, and I was messing with him. We had work, so I was messing with him like I usually do. You know, it's one of the methods that I use to try to motivate, the people in the jobs. We do the same thing every day. And so I was messing with the brother, and somehow we got to where he was saying to me that he had got to be the age he was because of his knowledge and what he knew and what he did. So this was like the second time he said this to me. So I said to him, I said, brother, if we take an alarm clock and we take it out to the graveyard right now, and we set it out there and set that alarm clock for 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, and it goes off at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, let's see how many people get up with that alarm. So he looked at me, he was like, well, what do you mean? What I got to do with what you said? I said, brother, you're living the time that you have lived is because God allowed for you to live as long as you have lived.
That's right.
That is not something that you have control over. As you and I are having this conversation right now, there are people who are leaving out of the flesh as we speak. Did not plan it, did not know it was coming, but it came. I said, that's one of the things that we have no control. So your age right now is something that you owe praise to God for.
That's right.
Or as we say, praise to Allah for. It's nothing that I have done to bring me here. In fact, when I speak for myself, and why I said that every tongue must confess its own when it comes to praising the Lord. When I speak for myself, I have did all the things that one could do to not be here in the flesh.
That's right.
From the wounds on my body and the events that I went through in life, the things that I have done in life, I've done things that others have done that were not here in the physical form. So I know that it is not because of anything that I've done, anything that I know, or any of that, that I still have this breath in this physical form to continue to work out the life sums. So for that and many other reasons, I give praise to Allah for another day to get this cardinal thing right. But I understand that everybody don't see it that way. And that is the problem. That's the problem in humanity. How they are looking at life in general. I give honor to our prophet and founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us this everlasting gospel through all the hell that our prophet went through with his own people. He stayed fast the course to bring this gospel to us and to set the foundation for us to build a nation under God. I give honor to him for that. I heard someone saying the other day, you know what, I'm not even going to get into that because sometimes we don't think about what we say before we say it. Man is great. Man himself is great because man himself is a spirit and a part of Allah. But guess what? Everything in Allah's creation is a spirit and a part of him.
That's right.
Everything. Without that connection to Allah, We are nothing without that connection to the force. And it doesn't matter what you want to call the force. Without that connection, we are nothing. And sometimes we'll get a little above ourselves. But anyway, praise the Lord for sending us our prophet. I give honor to the forerunner of Allah. Praise the Lord for sending Brother Marcus Garvey.
Yes, sir.
Because Brother Marcus Garvey got that soil ready.
Mm-hmm.
See, he came in and he began to till that soil in the hearts and minds of our people to get them ready for the seeds that were to be planted by the prophet Noble Ali.
Oh, that's right.
And those seeds are beginning to take sprout and grow right now today, as it was prophesied that it would.
Yes, sir.
I give honor to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Supreme Grand Council because he was chosen by our prophet. We don't need to get into all that he did or all that he didn't do.
I know that's right.
We don't need to get into that. Because what makes us responsible today is what we know.
Yes, sir.
We are responsible for that. We can now pass any of the blame on any of our shortcomings today and what took place in the past. Those times are over and gone.
Mm-hmm.
We are to learn from them, but we're not to get stagnated in them.
Yes, sir.
I give honor to all Moorish leaders throughout the Moorish diaspora, a special honor to the leaders in the United of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I give honor to the Supreme Grand Council, the United of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to all members, to all sheiks, to all sheikesses, to all officials. Give honor to humanity. For when you truly honor man, you honor Allah. And each day, the realization of this dawns on me more and more. And the reason why I want to just start with this thought, because it's something that was a bit on my heart since earlier this day when I had a conversation with my wife. And I want to start from this chapter and first declare my attention before I go to the chapter of any errors made on our brother G. Turner L. Not the teachings of the prophet, not the temple, and surely not on Allah. I want to just read from page 3, Know thyself and thy Father God Allah, where it says, Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. And we often like to say that Jesus in this context means justice, okay, for all those that love doing what's right.
So,
I'm going to begin with, I'm going to touch on something that I've touched on before, but it's very important. Coming out of chapter 3, Elihu's Lessons of Unity of Life, where it says in verse 2, no man live unto himself, for every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will love and not demand love in return. They will not do to other men what they would not have other men do to them. And I want to stop with that verse right there because this is a profound statement. And I want to make it applicable to life right now. And I want to be even more specific to make it applicable to what we know here in Baltimore City, the state of affairs among our people in the community here in Baltimore City, and more specifically about the youth here in the community in Baltimore City and what is missing. As I shared with the Moors a few weeks ago, one of my relatives on my wife's side of the family, one of our young nieces, 10 years old, was coming out of the store and was caught in the crossfire of some brothers shooting at each other. And she was shot in the chest. She went through a big ordeal and recuperation and recovery surgeries. And in fact, right now, she still has a bullet lodged in her that they are afraid to remove right now, though she's recovering. So, of course, you can only but imagine the emotional turmoil that the family has been through, especially her immediate family of her mother, you know, and her father and her grandfather, you know, what that family has been going through. You can only imagine. Uh, just recently, a brother, and I don't know the brother's name, and his name is really not important, but not to say that he's not important, but his name for the sake of this point that I want to make is not important. It's what he attempted to do. So here in Baltimore City, we have several areas in the city where you'll see spray painted on the walls, no shoot zone, right? And I look at it, I often wonder, you know, do anybody really pay that any attention? You know, because the rate of shootings and murders in Baltimore City is on pace to once again surpass 300 and even more. But this brother had decided that he was going to dedicate a spot in the area where our young cousin was shot at as a no-shoot zone, and that he was going to use her name and dedicate this spot to her. So when he began to start promoting and setting up a time for when he wanted the people to come out and all of that, the family got upset. And what they said to him was that he didn't seek permission from the family to do what he was doing. So on one hand, I can understand that. The brother's response to them was that they didn't, no, let me correct that. His response to them was that the news outlets that reported on the story of the young sister being shot didn't seek their permission to report on it and say her name. This was his response. He said that Allah gave me permission to do this. So I looked at that. And of course, my wife was conflicted. This is like her first cousin, you know. So she's conflicted over it. On one hand, she's understanding what he said because she believes it is a good thing and what he's doing. But what I said to her is that we have to be careful of good intentions, especially when we have good intentions that disregard how someone else may feel. They're grieving or they're suffering that they may be going through at that particular time, especially when we want to thrust them in the spotlight all over again. You know, I said, for the brother to respond that the news outlets didn't seek their permission to report on the story was insensitive to the fact. See, I'm going to this thing back to what the pure heart do. See, they won't do to others as they would not have others do unto them. And this thing goes deep right here because, one, we have to be honest with ourselves first and foremost. See, the one thing that we have to say to ourselves is, can I really imagine what that family is feeling and going through right now? Because if I can't imagine it, then maybe I need to be considerate of them and reach out first to see how they feel about what it is that I want to do.
That's right.
Instead of us, a lot of times we'll do this. We'll run behind the great God of the universe as if he has spoke straight to us and sanctioned this particular act that we're to do, irregardless of how it affects anybody. We have to think about these things. See, because then what proceeded to happen after he responded that way was a social media argument going back and forth between the family and the brother that was doing this. Now, see what I'm saying about the good intentions? See, he had good intentions, but I want to believe that his intentions were good. I don't want to believe that he wanted to do something to promote himself, but he had good intentions to do something in the name of our cousin, but your intentions turned out to cause confusion and argument in the public. And so publicly you're saying, well, you didn't get the news outlets, media outlets didn't get permission to report on the story and say her name. So why you want to do it to me? See, we got to watch playing those type of games with each other, because where is the love?
Mm.
Where is the true love? Because now, see, I want to get to where I begin at, when I begin to talk about what's happening in the community and where there are very few examples of that true love for one another. Because what is really missing is that true love for self.
Mm-hmm.
Because it starts with self. When I have true love for myself,
That's right.
then I'm going to consider you first, second, and third in my actions towards you and what I do that may have an effect on you. See, when we're not honest with ourselves about where we are at along the way on this journey, we can begin to start using scripture to justify our actions that harm other people. This is why the prophet said in the beginning, and I read it every reading, dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons because they are for good, peace, and happiness.
Yes, sir.
The condition that we're supposed to be creating with these lessons is good, peace, and happiness. If that is not the outcome, we need to reevaluate what we're doing.
Right.
We need to evaluate it because maybe we have missed something along the way. Because irregardless, well, I want to say irregardless because the truth is art and change is not.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the fact of the matter is that we are spirits.
That's right.
Caught up in a human experience,
That's right.
struggling through a human experience. And purity in life is necessary for us to begin to have the compassion for one another that we need. This is what's absent in our community and among our people in general. And this is why we can be on social media publicly attacking and tearing each other down in the name of that which is right.
Mm.
How is that possible? In the name of what's right, we can tear each other down. Not only tear each other down, but do it in the public as if it's okay. Yes, the love is missing. We go over with the prophet say, we to learn love instead of hate, and it becomes a cliche. No, that is a mandate. Because without that love that our prophet is talking about, there is no success in this movement. And we can talk all the uplift and follow humanity all we want.
I know that's right.
It's only going to be talk. It's going to require that divine love to reach our young brothers and sisters. Because all they have been witnessing is hell. All they have been taught about themselves is to not like themselves.
I know that's right.
Look at them. Just watch them. Look at our young sisters and how extremes they go through to change their very appearance. Walking around with all different colors of hair, all different kinds of add-ons to their eyelashes, all kind of things that they're doing to themselves to change their very appearance because they don't like the way that they look, man. That is not somebody that loves themselves. Young brothers walking around with their pants all the way down off their hind part because they don't love themselves. Man, this is not about criticizing them. Man, this is about us beginning to try to learn to love on them. And it's not going to be easy because they're not used to being loved on. They're not used to being loved on. And so initially, yes, they're going to reject that love and they're going to look at it suspiciously. But if we have that love inside of us for real, we will do whatever it takes to break through. Because that's the only way we're going to change these conditions. We got to love on them. And how it's going to really work, they got to see us loving on each other. They got to see us rising above that lower nature in us that kind of brings us towards, or kind of pulls us towards hating on each other. See, as I was saying, thank you. As I was saying, we are spirits caught up in a human experience. All of us. And if each and every one of us can remember that in our strides to unfold into this state of perfection that our prophet talks about, we will have more compassion towards one another.
I know that's right.
And we will remember, I often say this, we will remember ourselves a boy. And in that context, what boy means, we need to remember when we was doing those things that were not particularly right or not in line. Acting a little immature, acting a little foolish. See, we will remember ourselves that we will be humble and we will not be so harsh to one another.
That's right.
So quick sometimes, are we willing to just write each other off? Why? Because deep inside of ourselves, we have written ourselves off.
That's right.
Because if we truly was in touch with the Allah in us, the Allah in us would see the Allah in each other, even in the darkest moments.
That's right.
Even in the darkest. Think about it. The condition that our people was in, that Allah in his grace and his mercy sent us the best that he had.
That's right.
He sent us the light in the darkness. See, sometimes we want to throw our hands up or we want to condemn because we haven't learned to shine that light yet.
That's right.
And even worse, we'll just pretend as if we have the light. Instead of admitting the truth that I need some help and turning my light on.
Yeah.
I listen to more. And I tell them more that I didn't reach this point from last week. Been on this thing, struggling on it at it for a minute now, for some years. And as I said to Moses, it hasn't always looked pretty on this travel, on this road for me.
I know that's right.
But all praises be to Allah that I'm still able to stand on my feet today and praise his holy name. Because it's only because of the grace of Allah. See, another thing, the last point that I want to make, that we have to get straight. Because one of the things among our people, sometimes within the conscious community and, some others, they'll say that so-called black people have had too much religion. And I looked at that, and I've heard it a couple times, and I read and I look at a lot of different stuff, and I listen to people, because we have to put our finger on the pulse of the community and find out what's going on. And our people have had their fill of religion, or what has been called religion. When we studied the chapter on religion, I just want to read the verse out of it. We have to put this in its proper context. Chapter 35. I want to go to verse 29. Oh, fear Allah, therefore, all the days of thy life, and walk in the paths which he hath opened before thee. Let prudence admonish thee. Let temperance restrain. Let justice guide thy hand. Benevolence warm thy heart, and gratitude to heaven inspire thee with devotion. These shall give thee happiness in thy present state, and bring thee to the mansions of eternal felicity in the paradise of Allah. This is the true economy of human life. So one of the things that we have to do is straighten the misconception out about what religion is really about. Because what religion is really about is knowing how to truly live this life.
Yes, sir.
It's not about what the tithes you pay. It's not about the uplifting acts that you may get into. It's not about all of that. It's about knowing how to live this life, utilizing those principles that was mentioned in that last verse, or the second to the last verse, verse 29. Because the last verse tells us that this is the true economy of human life, how we should spend our time in this life. Let's look at them. Let's look at each one of these words that are mentioned here, each one of these principles. It says prudence. Look them up. Temperance, justice, benevolence, gratitude. Look them up. See what they mean. And see how, and let us learn how to live them. And thus we are engaged in what true religion is all about. See, we have to straighten out the misconception because of so much that has happened bad to our people at the hands of the minister or the preacher or the pastor. And it's not excluding anyone in the temple, in the mosque, in the church, in the synagogue, in all the places. Yes, there have been people who are wolves in sheep clothing. Yes, let's admit it, that they came in there with a purpose to only line their own pockets and fleece the people at any cost. But our prophet teaches us that we don't need no middleman to intercede. So you don't need the grand sheik to put your hand in the Lord's hand. I can help you and you can help me learn how to put our hands in the Lord's hand. But we got to work on those principles together. So then we are really living true religion. See, yes, our people are tired or had their fill of false religion. They've had their fill of that because people that came in the name of religion only to fleece them, only to hold them back. See, because if you come to the temple, the church, the mosque, and all that, and all you keep hearing about is we need you to donate some money, and you only see the minister or the pastor or the rabbi, or you only see their lives getting better. Yes, something is wrong. Yes, something is wrong. It only stands the reason that you should have a problem with that. What our prophet brought us don't operate that way.
That's right.
Not when it's done right.
I know that's right.
See, this is why we talk about returning to the pristine teachings of the prophet Noble Ali. See, we got to go back and examine them footsteps that our prophet took so that we can see how we're supposed to be doing this for real. This is a great movement and ideal. Just imagine when it comes into the manifest. Woo! See, we talking about something that when members come in, from the lay members sitting all the way in the back, they benefit from that very presence being in the place.
That's right.
And they carry the temple with them wherever they go.
That's right.
They begin to sing songs about the happiness that they receive. I'm talking about true happiness. I ain't talking about that flaky stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yes, our people have had their fill of pretended religion, but it becomes our responsibility to introduce them to true religion. And I ain't talking about the genes. You ain't got to buy no pair of true religion jeans. That ain't what we're talking about.
I know that's right.
That ain't what we're talking about. That's not what our prophet was talking about. The very name, Islamism, that ISM on the end of it means something. It talks about putting our faith in motion, our faith in practice, our faith in our everyday lives, in our homes, at our work, on our business, in our social gatherings, wherever we go, our faith should be in motion. And that should be our objective, to put our faith in motion, to put it in action. A Muslim's job is to bring about harmonious and peaceful conditions. That's what people should see when striving to bring about harmonious and peaceful conditions. As an organization, the leaders in here, we're responsible to create a condition of heaven for our people. That when they join with us, if they need a job, we should be able to, if we can't give them one, we should be able to direct them to one. Right. If their lights get ready to get cut off, we should be able to pay to keep them on. If they get ready to get set out the street, we should be able to provide shelter over their head. There's so many areas that we need to address, and we need to stop playing and looking at each other as if it's going to come out the air. We're not playing with this, man. No, this thing is about real life.
That's right.
As our prophet said, it is so much is work for all to do. We look at these statements and we see them in a small microcosm, when it's really a macrocosm. It's big. When he say it's worth enough for all to do, that's real. We sometimes have our eye on the wrong pride. Worrying about what's going on across the street and around the corner when we're not tending to our own business. In this. We need to get to the state where we are able to feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, and put a roof over our own heads or over our members' heads. Man, this is what this is about. And look at where we're standing right now. We should be able to know we got work to do. So if you with this for real, roll your sleeves up and let's get to work. Let's make it happen. And let's stop running off into our own little corners, man. I got a little something over here and we working our thing. That is a slave mentality. The slaves did that, man, when they was able to find a way not to get that whip on their back. They kept that secret over in the corner while the rest of them was getting the fur tore off of them. The prophet said, return the names and principles that allude to slavery. We got to strip them clothes off before we put these clothes on. We gotta lay down that burial ground. We gotta put it down. And we gotta do it together. Islam. All praises be to Allah. As I told our national grand chairman that I was not going to tarry long. One thing that I don't do, I may think about some things throughout the course of the day, but I don't try to plan what I'm going to say.
That's right.
Because I know I'm not in charge of nothing. And if I said something that inspires anybody to do what's right, give praise to Allah.
That's right. I'm
not concerned with no honor. Just don't look at me like I'm a shirt sitting on the chair. I'm your brother in the struggle with you. Just remember that. I'm your brother in the struggle with you. I'm not a shirt sitting on the chair. Islam? With that, I leave you as I came in peace.